Hi. The story I'm about to tell you is based on truth. Therefore, I am going to keep the names anonymous and the places anonymous because you might recognise where they are. And although the story happened a long time ago, there might be still people who are affected by what happened in the story. Way up on the northern coast of New South Wales is a place called Happy Valley. Now, Happy Valley is situated between the railway line and the sand dunes. And now, of course, it's a big metropolis, but in those days was much smaller. And in Happy Valley, between the railway line and the sand dunes, lived the itinerant people, railway fettlers, swagmen, a few aboriginals, and one particular young man. We'll call him Tommy B. Now, Tommy B was a fisherman, and he'd been fishing all of his life. His father and brothers, elder brothers, had all gone away in World War II to fight in Europe or Papua New Guinea. And Tommy was left alone. He would have been about 10, 11, 12 years of age at that time. And he was already a fisherman. So he took over his father's small boat and he used to go out fishing every night. And he knew all the good spots. He would come in, the old diesel engine, chug, 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 chugging away. And as he came up alongside the wharf, people would gather, Tommy, can I have one of those crayfish? And Tommy would oblige. Or what about a big snapper? And Tommy would oblige too. He would often give his catch to his friends who stood on the wharf. And with the rest of his fish, he would go around to the restaurants and the pubs and the club, the RSL, and he would sell his fish cheap. And he lived a happy life. He was a really happy fellow. Then suddenly this all changed, because far away in the big city to the south, a group of grey-faced men wearing grey suits in a grey building thought, we've got to do something about those fishermen on the north coast. Some of them are going out and catching fish. They're paying no tax. They're paying no income tax. Better get up there and do some investigation and just see what we can do as far as collecting the revenue. So a couple of grey-suited men went north and they interviewed various fishermen and told them that they had to cooperate by selling their fish through the cooperative. The cooperative would be run on strict lines. All fish caught, crayfish, lobsters, whatever, would have to be brought in and sold directly to the cooperative, to the co-op. And anyone who didn't would be severely punished. But it was worse than that. Some of these fishermen had been fishing all their lives and never paid any tax. So an assessment was done. What would they have earned and how much tax would they have had to pay had they paid their tax? Well, Tommy B got a letter. It was hand delivered. He didn't have a post box. The postman came out and put it in his hand. Tommy, this looks very official. Well, Tommy opened the letter and he didn't really understand what it meant. But he did see one thing. It said that he owed £7,000, 243 shillings and sixpence. Well, Tommy'd never seen £7,000 in his life. He hadn't even seen £70 in his life. This was an enormous amount of money. But he was worried. What could he do? So he went along to the pub and spoke to Nellie the barmaid. Now Nellie was a wise old lady, and Nellie said to him, Tommy, you better get yourself a solicitor. You're in big trouble. So Tom went along and saw a solicitor. And you know what the solicitor said? He said, Tommy, don't worry about it. Don't worry. He said, look, Tommy, what can they do? They can't take your home. It's just a cardboard and wood shack on government property between the railway lines and the sand dunes. Nobody owns it. Nobody's going to take that off you. So you've got your house. You can't lose your house. Now, as far as your boat, now, that's a good asset. But they won't take that, Tommy, because that's your livelihood. And how can you pay back any taxes if you don't have a livelihood? Now, they could take your old ute, your old A40 ute, but no, they won't do that, Tommy, because you need that to go out to the forest to get those sticks that you make your lobster pots out of. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Well, Tommy, they can't do anything. They can't take your boat, they can't take your car, they can't take your house. But they can take your money as you earn it. So here's what I advise you to do. Now you go out, how often? 6 days a week I go out, mate. 6 days a week. Right. Don't go out 6 days a week. Go out 1 day a week. 1 day a week. And earn just about enough money to keep yourself going. That way you can't pay anything back, and after a while, they'll probably write it off. So, when I met Tommy, this would have been in the 1950s, the mid-1950s, not that long after the men in the grey suits had arrived, everything was different. Tom would get into his boat, swing the big handle on the diesel flywheel and out he would go. Fish all night, hand lining by himself. He'd come in the morning with enough fish, straight to the co-op, sold. And no longer did people stand on the wharf saying, Tommy, he seemed to lose his friends. No longer did the clubs and the pubs get the cheap fish and crayfish. Everybody, it seemed, had lost. Everybody had lost. And as for Tom, well, he didn't know what to do with himself. So he started buying big demijohns of drink, wine, cheap wine. And when I met him, he was pretty well a wino. He'd lost his momentum. He'd lost his zest for life. Nothing had any meaning for him anymore. He just went out and did his duty. And you know what? They never got any money out of Tom. But they got a few dollars out of other people. So when those men in their grey suits came south, they all got promoted for doing such a good job. Now you've got to wonder. You've heard the old expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That does not apply to people in the government service.